Welcome to Story Time. Today I'm at Triangle Park in downtown Asheville. The park has a wall around it that has paintings that tell stories and helps us learn about African American leaders and history here in our own community. Do you know who this man is? The man with the horse? You probably don't know him, but I bet some of you know his name. His name is Isaac Dixon. Some of our friends go to Isaac Dixon Elementary School. It's named after this man. He helped start Asheville Public Schools, and he was the first African American who was voted to be a board member of the public school system. He has made a real difference and impact right here in our city. Today, some of our friends are a part of a camp called Advocacy Camp. Advocacy Camp is a time for us to learn about needs in our community, opportunities in our community, and to think about ways that we can respond and serve others in our community. Today, we're focusing on race and building relationships with people who are different from us. The best way that we can do that is by learning and hearing and listening to their stories, which is why I wanted to share the story of Isaac Dixon with you today, and why I'm going to be reading the story of Martin Luther King Jr. during story time. There are leaders like Isaac Dixon who make a difference in a city, a big difference. But there are others who have made a big difference in our country. Martin Luther King Jr. was one of those. There are a lot of others. Our kids in Advocacy Camp are reading biographies and learning about African American leaders throughout history who have done great things. So will you join us in this listening and learning as we read Martin's big words? And when you hear Martin's big words in our story time, you're going to hear some of the voices of our friends from Advocacy Camp. Martin's Big Words, The Life of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. by Doreen, Rappaport. Everywhere in Martin's hometown, he saw the signs. White only. His mother said these signs were in all southern cities and towns in the United States. Every time Martin read the words, he felt bad, until he remembered what his mother told him.
You are as good as anyone.
In church, Martin sang hymns. He read from the Bible. He listened to his father preach. These words made him feel good.
When I grow up, I'm going to get big words too.
Martin grew up. He became a minister like his father, and he used the big words he had heard as a child from his parents and from the Bible.
Everyone can be great.
He studied the teachings of Mahatma Gandhi. He learned how the Indian nation won freedom without ever firing a gun. Martin said love when others said hate.
Hate cannot drive out hate. Only love can do that.
He said together when others said separate. He said peace when others said war.
Sooner or later, other people of the world will have to discover a new way to live together.
In 1955, on a cold December day in Montgomery, Alabama, Rosa Parks was coming home from work. A white man told her to get up from her seat on the bus so he could sit. She said no and was arrested. Montgomery's black citizens learned of her arrest. It made them angry. They decided not to ride the buses until they could sit anywhere they wanted. For 381 days, they walked to work and school and church. They walked in rain and cold and in blistering heat. Martin walked with them and talked with them and sang with them and prayed with them until the white city leaders had to agree they could sit anywhere they wanted.
When the history books are written, someone will say there lived Black people who had the courage to stand up to their rights.
In the next 10 years, Black Americans all over the South protested for equal rights. Martin walked with them and talked with them and sang with them and prayed with them. White ministers told them to stop. Mayors and governors and police chiefs and judges ordered them to stop, but they kept on marching.
Wait. For years I have heard the word wait. We have waited for more than 340 years for our rights.
They were jailed and beaten and murdered, but they kept on marching. Some Black Americans wanted to fight back with their fists. Martin convinced them not to, by reminding them of the power of love.
Love is the key to the problems of the world.
Many white Southerners hated and feared Martin's words. A few threatened to kill him and his family. His house was bombed. His brother's house was bombed. But he refused to stop.
Remember, if I am stopped, this movement will not be stopped because God is with this movement.
The marches continued. More and more Americans listened to Martin's words. He shared his dreams and filled them with hope.
I have a dream that one day in Alabama, little Black boys and Black girls will join hands with little white boys and white girls as sisters and brothers.
After 10 years of protests, the lawmakers in Washington voted to end segregation. The white-only signs in the South came down. Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. cared about all Americans. He cared about people all over the world, and people all over the world admired him. In 1964, he won the Nobel Peace Prize. He won it because he taught others to fight with words, not fists. Martin went wherever people needed help. In April 1968, he went to Memphis, Tennessee. He went to help garbage collectors who were on strike. He walked with them and talked with them and sang with them and prayed with them. On his second day there, he was shot. He died. But his big words are alive for us today.